Hey everybody, welcome to another Common Canvas playlist. I'm Jeannie with Jeannie's Palette, and we are going to be doing some springtime paintings today. Check out my description with a link to the playlist so you can see all the other artists in this paint artist collaboration. Now here you see me working on my background, and it does seem very fast. I wish I could paint this quickly, but I just double timed it here for you, maybe even a little faster. But what I did was take several different shades of blue and yellow and green. I have a tiny bit of white in there, but I'm using a paper towel and I'm just dabbing it on very quickly at a random where it looks like color should be, and we're going to end up with a springtime background that always gives the illusion that there are more flowers and more grasses in the background. So don't try to be too purposeful as to where exactly you put the colors, but here I am adding a little white to tone down that brighter blue color. And of course yellow and blue make green, so that works well for adding some more foliage in the background. Now here I am with my little palette knife, and I'm starting to add in some flowers. Now I have some peony, and this is actually a having a lapse here. I'll put it in my description, but I'm using peony and also a craft paint that is a flamingo pink, and that's the lighter one. And now I'm adding some white on top of that. Dixie Bell is the name of the peony, and that's a chalk paint. And I have mixed these in a clear gel medium, a heavy body medium, just to give them a little bit of a different texture. Now I'm doing a little finger painting here, adding some green to the center of my flower and all around. And as we go, you will see me change my mind about a few things. Here I'm just muting it a little bit and leaving some pink in the background. Just looking at the background and seeing where some flowers should be. So now I'm adding back again the flamingo pink. And I like the muted color behind it like I did here, because it just gives it a little more dimension. That's what the look I was going for, kind of a soft, almost watercolor, even though I'm using acrylic paints here. And I'm just putting that around in a fashion that gives the illusion of petals here. Some darker, some lighter, just like it would in nature. And then we're going to add another one because it needs a little friend off over here to the side. Just so pretty and delicate. And I was thinking initially these should be peonies, actually, to go along with that color. They may turn out looking like roses, but either way, they are definitely a beautiful floral. Now I'm adding in white again to give it some more highlights and a little more definition to our flower. It's probably a long drawn out process for you. Add some yellow and green to the center, because our centers are all different colors. And then I think right here I pull in some red ochre and just add in some more highlights with that, giving it a little more definition and making the center a little bit darker. I change my mind as I go. I add some more blue in there. That's how art goes. We just need to enjoy it as we are working and not be so committed to how we want it to end up in the end. I hope that makes sense. If we stick to a strict thing, sometimes, for me anyway, I feel like I never finish if I keep trying to make it fit the vision I had. Oftentimes I say, things don't always go as planned, but sometimes they go better. And I think that's what's going to happen with this one as we go. We're going to see it evolve in several different directions as we go here. So now I'm tapping in with my finger some more green and blue just to make that back, cover up some of the mess I made, but also to enhance the background. Probably why my nails look so atrocious most of the time. I'm going to add one more up here at the top because it felt like I needed something at the top of this canvas, and I think that's going to be a perfect little flower up there. Not going to give it quite as much definition as the others, and I think that kind of enhances it a little bit as well, just having a flower up there that's kind of in the background. That's the look I'm going for. Now I'm tapping, tapping, tapping again. This looks a lot more like a... So here I am adding on some leaves and just using my finger. As you see, I did keep working on the larger flower, and I got some color added back in with the palette knife and my finger. And here I'm using turquoise and green and the yellow in my leaves. I like using turquoise with green. I think it adds a bit of a pop and a more natural look to leaves so they're not all plain green, and it makes them look a little velvety, I think, and a little more luxurious. Just something about the turquoise added to the green. That's another color that I use often when I do paint pours because green is it's a finicky color, I think. Turns to mud when it's mixed with certain colors, and paint pours tend to do that. I know we're not doing a paint pour here, but my mind went to that with the turquoise. On those, I always add turquoise with the green so that it blends better and it doesn't turn to mud quite as often. Now I've got a paintbrush out, so we've been using fingers and paper towels and palette knives, and here I am finally with an actual paintbrush. It's a small round brush, just adding in some details there, patting it out, and I will eventually pull in that palette knife again. Now, I'll go ahead and tell you before we even get to that part. Well, here we are already. I'm adding some yellow on top of the leaves with my brush. Now, I do, and you don't see it in the video, allow a little bit of drying time in there so that it's not blending into one color. I do like to do some shadowing too. So that's what I'm doing right here, just going up underneath that leaf, and probably should have flipped this video for you just so that I had it in the right direction, but it's okay. Still get the same idea of how it's going. So now just adding some yellow as highlights, and now we've got a little bit of wet green paint on there, so it does blend a little bit. That works fine with shadowing. I find that if the paint is completely dry, I have a harder time with acrylics and making shadows because it just ends up covering the dry paint rather than making a pretty shadow. Now I'm giving some definition, so it looks like we have more leaves in there than just the three. So there's like one tucked in there and one a little twisted on the side, then coming in and giving a little darker on this one. Now, when I get ready to do the shadows on these flowers, I go back to my turquoise and green again to go around and create shadow with the turquoise. And that turns out really pretty with the background that we have going. So I'm just deciding, where do we need leaves? And so I go in and add one right there to just fill in the negative space when you are painting things like this that really just come from your brain and not something you're actually looking at. It is a good idea to look at your negative space, use it wisely, and don't let it take over your painting. So sometimes we just need to add something extra to take up the space. That's what I did there with that leaf. I do let my backgrounds tell me a lot. Sometimes there's shapes in the background that says, hey, a flower needs to go right here, or hey, a leaf needs to go right here. And that's what I end up doing. So there's another little leaf. Looks like there should be one off in the distance there, just by the shapes from the colors in our background. And here we go with some more yellow on these leaves that we just added. If you take a good look at leaves out in nature, they are different colors, different shades. So just not one solid color. And that's what we're doing here. Back to my thumb and bleeding those leaves out so they blend more. I just really wanted a soft touch, not so stark here. So that's what we're doing. And I don't know. All right, now I'm being a little more purposeful. I think it is just absolutely a gorgeous palette knife, and adding in some texture with the yellow there, and just again layering. That's what we do to make the paintings come to life and give it a little bit of dimension. Now I'm adding in some white, and then we'll go back again here with some more green, and we just keep on layering. Yeah, guys, this video is part of a playlist. I hope you'll check out my friends who have joined the playlist this week with springtime paintings. The link for that playlist is in my description, and I hope you'll check out everyone's videos and give them a follow, thumbs up. We do these playlists fairly frequently. This month we've only done it once, but we usually do it every other Thursday. All right, so here we go. Adding in some green on top of the white, just making lighter colors, but giving it that it needs.